What if the greatest threat to your business isn't the economy or your competitors, but the subtle behavioral clues you are completely blind to right now? In the boardroom, just like in high-stakes diplomacy, the data everyone focuses on is only part of the story. The templated styles and processes don't often get to the real root of a culture that truly makes people stay and perform. The real intelligence is hidden in plain sight, in the gaps, the tension, and the unsaid. Today, our special guest, Rodger Harding, is going to join us, and we're going to decode it and dig in a little bit. Welcome to Talent Thrives Here, our podcast, where we strip away the corporate buzzwords to look at what actually drives human performance, leadership momentum, organizational success. I'm your host, Lance Lafort, founder of Lafort Talent Group, where we recruit and coach talent across North America. Rodger, after all that, welcome to our show. I don't want to keep you waiting the whole time.
No, it's really good to be here. Sorry, my camera just flipped.
No
No,
worries, no worries.
I was immediately excited when you said we cut away the corporate buzzwords because so many people do what they feel they should have to do rather than what they want to do. So yeah, but anyway, good to be on your show, Lance.
Yeah, thanks. And I think you and I have known each other for many years, and I think when you come at business intelligence, it's very different than I think some of the other companies come at business intelligence. You're looking for, correct me if I'm wrong, but I truly believe what you want to do is, if we're peeling the onion back, you're looking for the true self. Who are people? What are they all about? What are their superpowers? What are their real? And I think in a lot of corporations, when people come to work, that's the thing they hide the most. Would you agree?
No, absolutely. So I'm really pleased you started, and I'm even more pleased to be on the show because it seems in line with who I am. So I'm 71 years old. Um, my career span went from being a naval officer to a lawyer to a diplomat. Came to Canada age 40, had to start again. Couldn't get a job, so I started a business. I was an entrepreneurial consultant, business leadership, which the alumni of those programs morphed into career transition. So, and from that, then I was asked to join a big financial company to be an in-house business consultant, which basically empowering big financial firms and some independents to be the best they could. So, out of that experience, which is why I'm excited to be on the show, I gleaned two lessons. One of them is that, we start with your intelligence is that anything could happen at any time. So it's to be
Mm.
prepared for that. So now who should be prepared for that? So my life was a sort of up and down business, a 50-50. It's been an amazing experience. I've lived all over the world, done different things, um, but a very rich tapestry, if you will. But for me, the greatest lesson I've learned in my life is that billions of people have lived, are living, and will live. So, in other words, I'm just a speck. I'm a nothing. But that insignificance sets me free. I
Mm.
also learned that you don't get off that lightly because you've got to use who you are to leave the world a better place than you found.
Mm. Mm.
So, if you're on your deathbed, age whatever, 96 hopefully, you can say, did I do more good than bad? And if it's yes, you're a success. So, in that sort of process, as a consultant, I don't like noise. I don't like the buzzwords and the frames and the slides and the pivoting it gets too much for people, and you can see them thinking, "Oh my God, help me."
Right.
So I've just got a simple process. Who are you? Who am I? What do I want? Who wants me? And that's really important.
Mm.
And then what job do I want to do? And will I grow? And
Mm.
that's sort of, it's a checklist, it's your brand, and it's your message.
Mm.
All three in one simple line. So not to be learned off by heart, but if you just keep in your up here, who am I? And now most people start with what job do I want? And oh, I'll do the job and I'll grow. Or here's this amazing person, we'll get married and we'll have children. But they don't ask. And it's hard to
Right.
retrofit this. Will this use all of me?
Right.
Is our is our ambitions, desires in line? And then do they want me?
Right.
So So most people, in my opinion, and it's probably maybe irritates your views because it sounds arrogant, but they don't know who they are. They're
Right,
told to be this. You
right.
market it. That's what success looks like. And this is what you should want. So to me, an individual, an authentic person, which is my audience, which is my niche market, it's my who likes me. So
Yeah.
I show who I am right away.
Mm.
And 90% of people can be dots on the horizon. I'm quite happy because,
Right,
5% of the world is quite substantial. It's more than enough that this one stupid little man can deal with.
right,
So
right.
because like I don't feel in this business of talent, recruiting, coaching, guiding, mentoring, that you should tell someone what to be. You must access what's there. And this process is the best. So you look at, say, okay, this is who I am. So in my case, I was precocious little mama's boy. I was called obstreperous by teachers. I can't hold five cards in my hand to this day. I can't throw darts. I can't play ping pong, tennis, or golf. There's a dexterity problem. Now, today
Mm.
they would
Mm.
probably call it mild dyslexia. And then we throw in the ADHD on top of it, right?
Sure, sure.
You've got to be labeled because, oh my God, you. So I couldn't do math at school, but I wasn't stupid.
Right.
And there was always something wanting to get out. So I have learned that though there's a lot of me that's stuff I would have liked to have done more of in life. We won't get into that, but
Sure.
there's many things that I can't do. But I'm
Right.
really good at seeing people. I'm really good. And you use the word intelligence, which excites me because intelligence is it's the science of what might happen.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that excites the shit out of me. Sorry. So
No, no, I appreciate that. No, no, that's good. I,
yeah.
I was I was going to say it's interesting when you're describing, the as a child these sort of things, and when I was a kid, we as you were as well, we didn't have labels for all sorts of stuff. They would have just said, "Oh, he's creative," or "He's a little eccentric," or it was a broad label that was they threw a bigger basket. Now there's all these little micro labels and so on things, but it's interesting because I had a guest on well, I don't know, a few months ago, and she talked about neurodivergence in a leadership capacity. And I thought it was fascinating because she talked about, she said, I'm neurodivergent and therefore I work this way. And she said, in some companies, I don't fit because they work a different way. So she said, I've had to find my own path and get away from them because she said, what I'm doing isn't wrong. It's actually quite powerful. But in the wrong environment, it's a tragic chaos for them.
Yeah.
And so she said, one of the things I've now started to do is work with, you know, neurodivergent team members because she said I need to understand more about where they perform well and then put them in an area where they perform well rather than forcing them into a framework where we all do the same thing.
Okay, so no, but that's 100% correct. So just by the way, neurodivergence is a new buzzword. Oh my God, I'm neurodivergent. Okay, Jesus. Anyway, so
Well, and ADHD, we never had that till I don't know 30 years ago, but
yeah, but okay, so for me, but I'm so pleased you raised that because for me, I show people how I think
mm,
and I watch them to see how they think and
right.
how you inflict your thinking on somebody, they react to you.
Yeah,
So it's like a ping, a sonar ping. And if you get an answering ping, you know you're in business. And
right.
that should happen in the recruiting process, not afterwards.
Yeah.
So if
Oh,
you
oh,
show
yeah.
them, so the old thing, and also cliches are pretty good, but we bandy them around. But cliches are cliches because they work. So, but
Yeah.
I'm asking, your listeners to have a look at what does the cliche actually mean for me? Look at what
Yeah.
it actually works out. So, neurodivergence, which I'm so pleased you brought that up, is two sides of the brain firing in unison. That's all it
Mm,
is. So,
mm,
I'm downloading, I'm logical, I'm rational.
yeah.
But on the other hand, I'm exploring, I'm investigating, I'm creating, I'm innovating.
Yeah.
So they're two opposite things. So one is forensic and the other one is strategic. So
Right.
those two thinkings that collide bring up options. And when you voice options in a leadership capacity because you care, and care underpins leadership for me. And I'm so sorry, Lance, but you can't teach people to care.
Right. Right.
If you care, you see, and if you care, you do.
Right.
So you're looking at somebody and you say, how does this person think? Because if you find out it's the C drive, if you look at a person and you say, how does this person think? Now you can stick in any directory you like, but don't start with the directories, the folders, and the hidden files and start flinging this at people.
Mm, mm,
This is how I think. So
yeah,
in a career process for me, I am a strategic slash creative thinker or solution provider. So
yeah,
it's an analytical creative thinking mix. They're two opposites. And if people don't understand that when you explain it to them or they get it right away, you're home. It's very simple. Now we can talk because we've established we think the same. But if somebody's linear, and I mean, you hear the words data-driven decision making only. You hear it endlessly. Well,
yeah.
if you're data-driven decision maker only, and there's no room for instinct and exploration and investigation, then you're not a leader because you're a
Mm,
follower. You're going to look
mm,
at what the herd's done, what chatbot GBT is telling you, what anybody's telling you, and you're going to download it and follow a plankton in the plankton stream. So,
right. Love it.
so I'm
Love it.
sorry if I'm a bit passionate about this,
No,
but
no. Look, well, I think it's important though because if people want to work with you, you want to be very authentic, and you want them to be authentic. Otherwise, it isn't a
yeah,
match.
but authentic's not fashionable. That's never been a buzzword. And
Right.
it's probably about 10 years since I used to write every week a thing on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my God, you got to, I used to look for the tags you put on to say when
Right.
people say authentic doesn't exist on LinkedIn. It's not a word that is people
It's
look
not
at.
encouraged.
No, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but an authentic person is a person who cares, who sees, and who acts.
Right.
Very simple. And so I like being in touch with those people.
Right.
You know, they said about Winston Churchill, he was a crazy fucker. They said this
Yeah.
guy talks shit all the time. He'll say 10 things. Eight are complete rubbish, but two are brilliant.
Right. Right. Right.
But you can't, you've got to explore, you've got to investigate, you've got to see, you've got to try.
Yeah.
It's the same with people. You can have 20 relationships and none work or one work. You know,
Yeah.
you no, but you've got to go through this. You've got to look, you've got to see. But if you've been told by 30 you should be in the corner office and the cottage should be there and the antique boat with a little pennon flapping at the dock should be there. And if you haven't done that, and then never mind the helipad age 40 outback,
Right. Right.
you fucked up.
Yeah.
That's how people are looking at each other today. But if you know who you are, I'm going to come back to it and
Yeah.
again, and then you know what you want, not what other people tell you to want. I want this. I don't want stress. I don't want to be in a corner office. I don't want to be flying around. I don't want to be in meetings. And you know what? I'll have $100,000 a year instead of 1 million.
Right. Right.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. But so again, it's if you're in touch with who you are, the old cliche strengths and weaknesses. Oh, I'm good
Yeah.
at this.
Yeah.
Like me, I can't do math. No.
Yeah.
So anything that requires math, even God forbid a spreadsheet, I have to slow down for this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
do it. I have done it. My highest mark at university was in accounting,
Yeah.
but I don't like it. I've got to slow down for it.
Sure.
So I don't do
Sure.
it. It's not
Yeah.
pleasure. So
So
yeah, go. I'm
yeah,
talking
no, I
too
was
much.
just gonna say I'm thinking of in the workplace where we mentioned data driven. I'm thinking of when I go down the hall to the CFO, it's all data, it's all numbers, it's all math, right? And that's their comfort zone. I think it's their castle. They live and they're protected in that environment, right? Where I go, I worked, as you know, I worked in animation studios and ad agencies, and surrounded by creative people. And also creative suits, and then we had suits that were just suits. They weren't really creative people. And I love that kind of village because in that village you will find every type of
Yeah,
humanity. The folks that
absolutely.
don't want to examine things and the folks that are only going to examine things. And uh, I remember a creative director a million years ago when I was interviewing. I was recruiting for an ad agency, and he said this hilarious thing, it wasn't his. He paraphrased, but he said, "Shaving the Sasquatch," and I might have said that to you a million years ago somewhere. Um, but I said, "Could you describe that? What does that mean?" And he said, "Well, look," he said, "creative people are wild creatures from the forest, and they're not meant to be in the city." And so he said, if I catch one who's brilliant, I have to shave that Sasquatch because if he looks like a Sasquatch, people will treat. So, anyways, he said my worst fear is at a Christmas party, at a function where we've got clients in the room and we've got all as agency staff and everyone's drinking. God forbid the Sasquatch starts talking to a client after too many drinks because I can't control what's going to come out of that wild beast, right? And because I've shaved him, he doesn't look like a wild beast, but he's a wild beast, right? And
Yeah, but I just pick you up on that immediately
yeah,
in case it slips my mind. I mean, okay, when I'm saying be authentic, you still live in the world, so
right,
you
right,
have to adapt. But if you'd like, for example, I didn't become a priest because I wanted to, because I
yep,
could never have knuckled down to the bullshit
right, right, right,
and be an obedient little fool for people, pink-cheeked old men who I didn't respect, so I didn't do
right,
it. But the job of being a priest is good. So I
yeah,
didn't do that because if you join a company, you're taking a salary, you have to do it within the framework they provide, which
yeah,
is why your job and that you've done so well over the years and how you've grown has become good because that's the policy you follow. So,
mm,
horses for courses, this for that. But to come back to when you said, the data-driven stuff, just put it simply, what works?
mm,
But you then are a follower. You can do that.
right.
95% of the world do it. They're plankton. They go where they've
Well,
been told to go. No, it's fine. There's no
yeah,
problem with that. But if you're
yeah,
not that, you've got to find somebody who wants that. And it
right,
exists. So if I just put it in one sentence, chaos and crisis are the best venue or environment for somebody who wants something to be fixed, to be grown, to be developed, new stuff.
yeah,
But don't go to the bank, which is amazing and needs to be solid. It needs to be predictable.
yes,
And
yes,
say,
yes,
I want to knock it out the park here because they don't need that. But
yeah.
you look for who does need it. Who needs you? And the best way to do that is to show who you are because it'll sort it out in 5 minutes. I do this on a daily basis. I juice people the moment I meet them. I've done it with you now and your listeners. If
Yeah,
they don't like me, they'll be gone. They'll say, Dear God, no.
right,
And that's
right.
fine. But
Yeah,
if
too
there's
much for television.
but if one person says like this is cool,
Right.
that's what works.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Easy.
and the other thing I was going to say, like, I think you fit really well around that leadership component because it really is driving insights and looking for inflection points. And, when a company either has an aha or they need an aha, right? Because something hasn't worked out right. And they're starting to feel like there's an undercurrent here that we're not really listening properly to, those sort of things. And they need someone like yourself to come in and drive through all of their red tape, bureaucracy, whatever it is. And it,
Yeah, and that has to be done with a lot of lube, respect. I don't know how
right,
you want
right.
to put it. If you get a rusty old engine, you got to lube it. You can't just
Yeah,
crank it.
yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. And, you were a diplomat, so I'm sure you're able to
Oh, but
find,
but they were gang too. I mean, the general notion as a diplomat is everybody's polite and
right.
everybody. No, I used to be people. I was a successful diplomat, and I
Yeah,
still got follow up from people from all over the world because I showed I cut the bullshit out. When you started this program, you said, you cut out the buzzwords. A lot of people say to me to this day, you cut out the noise. But if
right.
I get somebody and then I start walking through 100 slides and my process, it doesn't work. But you find out what does this person need? What do they
Yeah,
want? Who are they? What do they want? And then
yeah,
who will want them?
yeah, yeah,
And then who will pay them and who will allow them to grow?
yeah,
That mantra, I'm going to keep on at you here because that's your brand. That's your message. It's
yeah.
it's who you are. And it's also your checklist.
Yeah, it reminded me too of a fellow I knew, Corey, years ago, who got brought in by the Toronto Police Department to build an IT system where all of the police offices all over Ontario were linked because apparently they all had separate P&Ls, and so they'd all bought their own computer systems over decades. None of them were talking together well. So his story was he was told you could steal a car in Hamilton and get out to like Ottawa, but no one in Ottawa at the police stop would know for 2 days because all of these little silos between all of their IT systems. And the reason it hadn't been fixed was political. Everyone wasn't talking to everyone else, and everyone was, they had their own little fiefdoms. Anyways, he was brought in by the chief of police, and the chief of police told him, "Look, here's the thing: you're not in the union, you're not a cop, you're not a part of public service, you're just a private contractor." But he said, "I've heard your nickname is the Bazooka," and he said, "Please take that to heart because I need one right now. I need someone to blast through all of the noise and the bullshit and the red tape and all of the fiefdoms and all of the," because he said, "Otherwise, this project's going to take 10 years and fail." But he said, "I've only got about 18 months to make it work." So
Yeah,
I'm,
but then recognizing that that's traumatic for the people who are doing it. And that's why, like, there's always, you talk about neurodivergence, come back to
yeah,
that. There's two scenarios going on there. So only somebody who can think in two scenarios can actually get that job done.
mm, mm, mm.
That's why I use the word "loo" because you can't just go in there and force something in. It's
Yeah,
not
well,
going
and
to.
that's it. He literally threw this guy in like a hand grenade, and it was a multi-year project. I remember him saying like occasionally he'd have to check in with his coaches internally and say, "Am I doing a good job?" And they say, "Yes, you've pissed off tons of people, which means you're getting the job done. They don't like this. They didn't want this. It's not happening. They want." But basically, what he was told was like 10 other contractors have tried and failed. So if you want this job, here's what we'll pay you. But here's the context. Here's the theater you're going into. Do you want it? Are you ready for it? And he was like, "Yeah, I'm good. This will be exciting." You know, and he learned a lot, and he learned a ton of stuff that he didn't know. So that was his takeaway as well. And they compensated him very well. But he said it was one of those things where 75 to 80% of the job was getting ready for the next board meeting and what questions are they going to ask us so we can, constantly defending your turf. Um, but anyways, I thought it was an interesting assignment because he said it was high profile, a lot of, press is on it, the media is watching him, all these different factions because it's a city related thing.
No,
Um, yeah.
he's bringing structure to chaos. So I remember you telling me about Corey before,
Mm,
but no,
mm,
but a guy like it is bringing structure to chaos.
yeah.
He's also bringing calm to crisis.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's that being saying, well, look at what we've got, and how can we enhance this? How can we make
Yeah.
it better? And the sale of it is the relevance of this. Now you
Yeah.
mentioned relevance right away. Who can argue with relevance?
Yeah.
But
Well,
but the thing is, like anybody, just I don't know why I'm going to say this now, but I think it's important. But any ism, like many people come to me and they say, "Why don't you write a book on this theory of neurodivergence and what you've learned?"
yeah.
But I learned this from IT people.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought, what? How am I getting on with this person? Why are we understanding each other? I can't do what they do. It's frightening for me. But I
Yeah.
realized it's the analysis, the logical,
Yeah.
the precision,
Yeah.
and it's the coping with chaos eternally. Those two together, this makes a good IT person. All right. So, and that triggered me. So I didn't learn this anyway. So
Yeah.
it's just basic stuff. But if I put a label on it and it define it,
Mm,
precisely.
mm,
Then it's going to reassemble a microcosm of the world outside.
mm.
If you bring any cult together, because we all think the same, it reassembles into the same shitty world that we've got outside.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
The whole thing is so in this um, world of a career of advancing, of being you, authentic, of being you, and on whatever level you choose.
Yeah.
There has to be that willingness to evolve. So
Mm,
it's like a
mm.
Venn diagram that you and I were talking about the other day.
Yeah.
It evolves, it goes. Or Hegel's thesis, antithesis, synthesis. It's like a
Yeah.
DNA circle. It just goes along.
Yeah.
This is how you look at yourself. I am not static. Now, if you want to be static, you can. You want to sit in a government office and never move, same office
Sure.
40 years. There's no problem with that. But people who want more,
Yeah.
people who want to fire on all 12 cylinders.
Yeah.
So another thing, just to make that simple, if you've got an oak tree in your garden and you've got a row of flowers, you can give
Mm.
a teaspoon of water to each flower, they're dead happy.
Right.
The oak tree says, what in God's name is this? Then you bring the fire hydrant, the oak tree says, now we're talking, but you kill the flowers.
Right.
It's giving what you were saying earlier. You give who can do what and what it was. You said that neurodivergent person you were talking about tries to work with people on their terms
Yeah.
and expose them to situations that can use who they are.
Yeah.
It's simple. You don't need to go further than that. But
Yeah.
it's more work. It's so much easier.
Yes.
You
Oh,
have
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
and your tick and your merit. No one's looking at what you actually did even in the reviews.
Yeah.
They just
Oh,
hand me your
yeah.
KPI and all this, and the little dance, and the fingers go up explaining how it should be. And I'm like a berserk.
Yeah.
I can't breathe.
But
It takes the air out of me.
Rod, you hit on something that I think is a great analogy. The idea of, um, you know, engineers come in and they've got to fix problems, right? And their problems are very visible. It's an IT thing. What's wrong with this line of code? If I fix this, then that screws up these three lines of code, but this function now works, right? So they can, if they're writing poor code, create chaos as well. But my thinking was, when you said it about talking with IT people, um, I think you're the same engineer, but you're coming in on the interpersonal side and the life less examined. And
I'm going to come back with you on that. Not the interpersonal, both. You can't have one without both. Interpersonal without the engineering side is no good. You've got to have both, and you
yeah,
probably mean it. But
yeah,
I
no, absolutely. What I was saying was you are an engineer, but you're not looking at the IT systems. You're looking at the people systems. You're looking at the
yeah,
thinking, right? You're looking
yeah.
at the rationale. And so in my head, it's like you're still an IT guy. You just your systems are different, right?
Yeah,
Than
but
working on.
it's such an important point you've made, Lance.
Yeah,
If you look at, I've worked with so many people who were either engineers or chemical engineers, all kinds of people,
yeah,
and then they go to these top consulting firms,
yeah,
you know, um, and it's called a creative hire, but they wanted that extra bit. They wanted that service oriented. They wanted the people side of things. They wanted relevance. And a lot
yeah.
of people, when they leave those sort of jobs, they want to go somewhere where they can belong,
Right.
where they can put down roots, where they can grow something.
Yeah.
And I want to come back because I wanted to say it earlier. Talking about one of the top consulting companies that I do the exit strategy for, the woman was qualified MIT. She did a lot, and she wanted to become an entrepreneur, and she left the consulting company. Good. So she developed a medical product or a medical system, and she took it to Mars in Toronto,
Mm.
the Center for Innovation.
Yeah.
And the first they looked at it and they said, "Has this been done before?" She said, "No, that's why." Well, bring it back when you can prove it works.
Right. Right. Right.
Which
Yeah.
is I can't believe that. But why am I mentioning it? Because it's not just talk. It's not sensation. It's not podcast fodder that we just want to talk about crap to get a reaction. No, this is. Can you imagine the hurt of this woman?
Mm.
And this
Yeah.
is the center of innovation that said it to her.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they've got
So,
their.
yeah, so I think just to keep the conversation simple. If you are who you are and you show it. You bare your chest. You've got the strength to say, this is me.
Yeah.
And if they like it, you're in. And if they don't, they don't. Both are good outcomes.
Right.
Who wants to go somewhere where you've got to force somebody to like you or put up wallpaper to pretend that you're something else to get the job?
Right. Right.
I mean, sometimes we have to. But I mean, at least
Yeah.
when you do that, listen, I'm compromising here. And then don't
Right.
expect from them. Now, have anger, as you can probably deduce, and irritation and frustration that's built up over the years. But if I was 30 and I didn't expect from a lesser capacity than mine, I
Right.
wouldn't be disappointed. So let's just give you another. If a Jetta goes down the road and it's racing with a Porsche, two friends, one's a Porsche, one's a Jetta.
Right. Right.
Next thing, the Porsche finds itself all by itself. You say, "Oh, the Jetta didn't like me." Meantime, the Jetta's wheezing its lungs out on the side of the road.
Sure.
You
Sure.
don't expect from the Jetta what it can't give you. But
Yeah.
then if you have got a Porsche, drive the bloody thing to its
Right.
limit.
Right.
That's all we're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
But
and that's it. And
and so for me, and I know you do this.
yeah.
The gift of a good recruiter or a good talent manager or a good coach, mentor, guide is somebody who can spot excellence,
Right.
acknowledge it, reflect it back,
Yeah.
because that will enable it.
You,
But
you
you cannot teach an adult anything. And I'm going to repeat myself. you can't teach somebody to care either.
Right. Right.
And so don't come to me about being a leader if you don't care, because a leader sees what needs to be done and a leader chooses to step up. Doesn't wait till, oh my God, that's a great idea, and then they all dive in.
Right. Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yep. We could talk for another hour because every time we have another sentence, I think both of us spark off on another thought. Ah, we could keep going.
Yeah,
But
no, but okay. Well, look at what you just said. That now, if you're in a work environment and you can have a brainstorming session,
yeah,
and you're at the water cooler or having a coffee or a beer after work or playing darts or doing whatever the hell you do, and
sure.
you have these chats, it sparks ideas. That's
Yeah.
how
Oh,
things.
absolutely. Yeah.
And
And I think
smart people and authentic people are lonely. A leader is
yeah,
lonely by mere definition of being who he or she is.
yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, they're also often wired a little differently than everyone else on the team, and that wiring doesn't always make them as social as everyone else because it is lonely. They've got to call shots that other people don't have to call. The responsibility is much larger, I think. Um, and that's why I think a lot of people, and in my experience when I'm managing teams and interviewing teams, I find people who don't want a promotion because it comes with extra responsibility or limelight and they don't want to be in the limelight. So they go, no, I've capped at where I want to be in this organization. Please, I don't want to be considered for a management role. Or I don't want to be considered for that role. And I found that really interesting because I was in my younger career very ambitious, wanted to climb. And I thought, why would they even be thinking that? Why would they even say that? Why would they? But different strokes for different folks. Some people don't want to have all that attention and so on. So, but hey, I'm just conscious of time. I would love to chat again or more. But hey, Rodger,
Well,
if someone
see if your listeners like it, because they might think, dear God, no, the Lord preserve us. But I'd love to
but
come back. So thank
yeah,
you.
but if somebody's working on a difficult time in their career and they need a transition coach, you're one of those people I think cuts through a lot and has quick insights. You have this kind of radar that's on all the time, which I've always found is really valuable because your radar doesn't kind of shut off. It's like razor sharp. So and I think that's really important and critical. As someone's mid-career or late career and they're making a move or considering a move, they need that sounding board. They need that critical coach to really look and
Yeah,
examine.
but hey, sounding board is what it is. That's what they need.
Yeah,
You,
yeah,
you, they don't need coaching. Coaching was also a buzzword. What did people do before coaching was invented or mentoring was it? It's a
sure.
sounding board. Somebody who can see you. Look, there's 4 steps to any relationship.
Yeah,
But I'm going to end on this. But if you see somebody, if you see each other for who they are, that's mentor, mentee, coach, coachee,
yeah,
employee, employer.
sure.
You see for each other for who you are.
Yeah,
Accept what you see.
right,
Accept it.
right,
Then you enable it. You work, you do stuff. There's a reason to be together. And then you stand the hell clear of the person and let them carry on being who they are. And if
right,
those 4 things happen, you've got a really good relationship. But how
right,
many people get married and they want the person to change after they married them? Like, see people attracted to this person at a party, being a star, the player,
right.
the whatever. But then now we married, you can't do that anymore.
Mm,
That's who
mm,
you
mm.
liked, you know?
Right, right.
I'm trying to be polite here. I could
No,
use.
I hear you. But you think of startups too, where I talk to some founders and they say, look, I got to a point where I realized I had to get out of the way of my best employees. Y- you know,
That
eh,
is, frame that.
you're right. But it's fantastic when they get that because some people don't get there. They don't have that kind of EQ around them, and they never get
Because
there.
they're not strong enough. They're
Mm,
weak.
mm, mm,
Because
mm.
a strong person can bear themselves to the public, to
Right.
anybody, and say, this is me. But
Yeah.
a weak
Yeah.
person puts up armor and pretends they're bloody strong and they're not. But
Yeah.
that you said to me is the most powerful thing I've heard today. It was
Great.
wonderful.
Great. Great. Rodger, if people want to connect with you, obviously LinkedIn, you're on LinkedIn, a great place to catch you. Anywhere else you want to send them to if they want to connect.
Yeah, rogerharding.ca.
Okay,
And
perfect.
it's Roger with a D.
Absolutely. All
Rodger
right.
Harding. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Well,
We'll
look,
speak
great
again.
seeing you again. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for being on the show.
Yeah, keep on doing what you're doing. I mean, I'm so impressed with what you've done, and it's really a classy outfit line. So it's always good to keep in touch and see what you're doing.
Thanks, Raj. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Take care.